Hey guys! So in this week's video, I'm going to talk to you about how it's not you, it is your strategy. And so if you're sat there feeling like you've failed and that means you are a failure and you're feeling really rubbish about yourself right now, or perhaps you want to know how to shorten that period after a failure where you are feeling that way about yourself and be able to move more quickly on with your life, well then this video is for you. So I actually got into all these different things around mindset and fear of failure and feelings of being an imposter because I used to struggle so much for these extended period of times when I failed. I mean, it could knock me out for a week when I was younger because I would just basically see the failure as part of who I would over-identify with the failure. And when I went and did all my research on fixed mindset and feelings of being an imposter, I found that this is a hallmark of these two things. So for fixed mindsets, I've spoke to you guys about this before. What happens is because there's this fixed sense of self and abilities, when there is a failure, it's seen as the limit of abilities, confirming that limit, and therefore then the sense of identity is confirmed and it is I am a failure. And then of course when it gets at its worst, you withdraw effort, you stop trying to actually learn things, you try and avoid or prove. And what that means is that actually it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where you don't seek opportunities that you could develop within, and then unfortunately you just sort of like start to just confirm those feelings of being a failure and being stuck. And this is echoed in the imposter phenomenon or syndrome literature as well. So and it's imposter syndrome in like current media, and then it's imposter phenomenon in the research, and that's what Pauline Clance really designed all the scale around and stuff, is that terminology. And essentially with this, it's that feeling of being that you're going to be found out, and that when you fail, that is you revealing to other people your inadequacies, your innate like terrible fear that has come true, that you are not what other people are perceiving you to be, and that it's almost like this show, and that the failure is revealing that. And if you remember from the earlier videos, it was all about, so how do you flip that into a learning situation then, right? Because if you're always thinking about the fact that it's an end point rather than a starting point, then when you have that failure, you feel like an imposter, you're going to avoid, and again, you're not going to grow, and again, you're just going to confirm. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy here as well. But what's really interesting is that even though I know all this stuff and I studied all this stuff and I've worked so hard on all this stuff, even just this weekend, I had to rewatch a video on failure that Tom Bilyeu put together because I'd had a pretty significant setback and it knocked me, and I was thinking, God, I need a bit of I need something to help me to shift this perspective. And when I watched this, it was so useful. And basically he talked about AI and this AI learning a game on the Atari called Breakthrough. And he said this AI is just banging about and it has no idea how to score, how to get a high score, and that's what it's been programmed to do. And it's just banging about, like trying all these completely random things. And yet by doing that, it learns, and it learns efficiently, and it learns strategically. And what he says is that if you are doing something and it doesn't yield the desired results, it's not you that the issue is with, it is your strategy, and therefore you can change your strategy. And that failure, that thing that's happened that's making you question yourself, instead of turning inwards, turn outwards and look at the thing, look at the strategy, look at whatever it is that you're doing and look for the way you can optimize that. Remember, accept, adapt, optimize. How can you adapt your strategy, right? How can you adapt what's happening to you? So thinking about not this is me, I am a failure. Don't identify as a failure because that's just one point in time. Actually think about the long game, as Tom Bilyeu would say, and think about the fact that this is just one piece of that puzzle. So what can you learn? What can you improve? What is this failure telling you about your strategy? And what then can you implement into your strategy to develop? And this reminds me of a TED talk that I watched this weekend as well by Olivia Remez, and she's a researcher at Oxford, and she has said that one of the hallmarks of people who are really, really lonely is that they think it's something wrong with them as well. So you're seeing that same thing where you're attributing an external circumstance to being a debilitating identity, which is then self-fulfilling and stopping you from being able to actually have the thing that you want or that you need. And she said that when she was researching loneliness and she was looking at all these different things, and she even said, like, again, it's not the person, it's the process, and they keep doing the same thing. She said, do you know what separates mice from humans? Well, mice, they don't keep doing the same thing. So when they're in those little mazes and they're like going around and like they're doing all the things that they're doing when they're experimenting with the mice, they keep doing new things, they keep trying new strategies. But humans, we keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, and Einstein, and then that like definition of madness. And then essentially what that does is that just self-confirms that it's something about us, but it's not. It's just because we're doing the same thing. It's because of our strategy. So change your strategy, change your outcome. And as the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Will Smith says, fail early, fail often, and fail forwards. Because when we push into those failures and we are taking those lessons, we're learning from them, we get to adapt our strategies at such a quick pace, and we get to adapt ourselves and we get to evolve. So when we're pushing ourselves and we're allowing ourselves to improve our strategy, we're challenging ourselves and we're changing ourselves, and we're getting to become more and more. Our strategy is fueling us rather than our identity trapping us. So next time that you're feeling stifled by some limiting identity where you're attributing something outside of yourself to you in that way, then instead think, what can I learn from this external thing that's happening? What can I learn from that failure? How can I take a lesson from this to enable me to hone my strategy and move forwards? What is this teaching me? And what can I do differently to get a different outcome? Because remember, it's not you, it's your strategy. All right, guys, if you want to go deeper on that, then go to growingbeyond.co.uk and book in a discovery call with me. And I can't wait to see you in the next one.